You see, joining me now in the studio is Oliver Hartwich, an economist from the Centre for Independent Studies. Oliver Hartwich, welcome. Now, we've spoken a couple of times over the last couple of weeks about the situation in Greece in particular, and it's the case that you believe that there is a contagion developing in the Eurozone, but at least a fellow economist has been appointed Prime Minister of Italy. You must be happy with that.
Yeah, talk about positive news.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a very good economist. He has a long record in academia, and he has a good track record, of course, as Commissioner in the European Commission and responsibility for the common market in Europe. So yes, he's a very, very well qualified economist, but I wonder whether that's enough to turn Italy around within the 60 or 70 days that he may have.
So what has he got to do now, and urgently, as far as you can see?
Well, he basically has to do all the reforms that Italy hasn't done over the past 40 years, and he has to do them in a couple of weeks. That's going to be very, very difficult for him. He has to reform the labor market, he has to bring spending under control, he has to tackle the trade unions. So quite a lot on his agenda, and unfortunately it seems now that Berlusconi is still in the background pulling the strings and hoping perhaps even for a return to the prime ministership.
Let's just take one of those issues now that you mentioned, reforming the labour market. Just tell us specifically, what, to give the layman an idea out there, what about the challenges ahead, what does he have to do in terms of the labour market?
Well, the problem for the Italian labour market is, of course, youth unemployment. Youth unemployment in Italy is beyond the 30% mark, and the reason why it's so difficult for young people to get into the labour market is because it's very regulated. Italy has strong trade union. It's very difficult actually for companies, small and medium-sized companies, to take on extra employees because they think that in a downturn they would never be able to get rid of them again. So you need to make it easier for them to hire and fire, and that's, I think, one of the big problems for the Italian economy at the moment.
So that's one of the issues that he's got to address in the next 60 or 70 days. Will the population be willing to go along with him? He's an economist, so presumably he will make the harsh decisions. Do you think he will still be there in a year if he's going to need the support of the community for those harsh decisions?
I actually doubt that he's going to be there in a year, because from what I understand, it was part of the deal that Berlusconi stepped down, handed over to Mario Monti, but insisted that Mario Monti would never stand for an election. So he clearly sees him as just some kind of caretaker prime minister, and then we're heading for a new election sometime early next year, and who knows who's going to be the candidate of Berlusconi's party. I have a feeling that in the background Berlusconi is still trying to control the political process, and Mario Monti will only have a few weeks or a few months.
Will Berlusconi be successful in controlling the process, do you think?
Well, he's still very powerful, of course. He's controlling the major parties still. He's controlling most of the Italian media still. But
he was jeered and booed in those scenes, as we said. It seems as though the Italian population has had enough of him.
That's true, but you shouldn't forget that, of course, he still controls some of the TV stations in Italy and many Italian newspapers, right. So he still has considerable influence.
So just finally then, where do you see this going in Europe over the next couple of weeks?
Well, I think for Italy now what they really need is a bit of good fortune. In Italian they say alla fortuna bisogna sempre lasciare una finestra aperta. You always have to leave a window open to good fortune. I think that's what the Italians need. They need to have good fortune now to really tackle the reform agenda now. It's been lying there for decades, as I said, and I think they've got a good chance now with Mario Monti to start tackling all these problems. But in the meantime, I think the crisis will spread to other countries, and we're already seeing signs of weakness coming out of Spain and France.
So watch that space carefully over the next couple of weeks in terms of Spain and France.
We will have to.
Okay, Oliver Hartwich, thanks very much for that.
Thank you.